Hello, dear folks. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on East West with G&E TV. We're trying to put all the information together regarding the instance that happens so frequently that it causes lots of concern about number one, public safety, number two, about law enforcement activities, and then we came to a no, not a conclusion. I'm saying that a question about is it a culture of policing, or is it the trend of policing, or is it the anti-police trend or whatever? So it's kind of all mixed. In order to get to the answer, get to the bottom of it, I have my good friend, Mr. Stephen Cho, to come here join me to analyze case by case, see some follow-up of each of the cases that I brought here. And by the way, Mr. Stephen Cho is one of the very, very, very solid supporter, even starting from the very, very early days when I was on the radio show. That was 10-something more years ago. And he's been a huge supporter ever since. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, good. We talking about several shows lately of the occurrences, one after another. First, we have the Baltimore case. Of course, earlier than that, we have the Michael Brown case, right? And earlier than that, still than that, we have Kelly Thomas case. Kelly Thomas, Michael Brown, and we have Freddie Gray, right? And we have now, we have the pool party. And in between, we have North Carolina case and LA case, right? All together. So from an attorney's point of view, though, what's your take or what's your reading about what's happening around us?
Well, I think that in this sense, with all the interest that's been generated by these cases, I don't think it's a matter of whether or not these cases are new. I'm of the opinion that out of some of these cases, I mean, when you have police interaction with the public, there's bound to be some cases that's questionable. Although that doesn't mean that the police aren't justified in using the force that they used. It's just the fact that when they're dealing with the public, there's just going to be some cases there may be some questions raised. But I think what happened is that with the social media, with the proliferation of camera phones. I mean, anybody who's got a cell phone these days has a camera, and so anybody can whip out a camera instantly and start, videoing whatever that's going on.
All right.
So and then with the proliferation of social media, they can post it right on the internet and for everybody to see. So I think that in itself has raised the perhaps the public's consciousness about use of force by the police, justify or not, I don't know, but it's just, I think that's what it is, and that's what our society has become.
To be honest with you, Steve, that I have no problem with the proliferation of the cell phone age, right? Which really helps a lot, right? So that's a fact. And I have no problem with understanding the fact that there might be mouths, too many big mouths talking about it, who might have exaggerated the case itself, though. So I do have problem that when the evidence is taken by applying those cell phone cameras, how come it shows a negative part about the police officers in action? Meaning that if among 10 of the clips, right? If we say 5 and 5, we say, okay, that's only more exposure you're talking about.
Sure.
Right? How come altogether a majority of the posts kind of like showing the negative part of it? So I'm talking about, is it a trend, or is it just more exposures available? Well, whatever. I need to really, really get somebody to help me out with the puzzles that I'm in, please.
Well, I think that, news-wise, controversy sells. The more controversial the news is, the more viewers you're going to have.
Yes.
And don't forget, with the rise of social media, you have this new I wouldn't even call it a cottage industry anymore. You just have a new industry of bloggers.
Okay, all right.
People who just go online and say whatever they want based on whatever they see without the actual analysis that your professional news people conduct. So and these people give their opinions, not news. And unfortunately, they have followers. And so it's very easy for these people on the internet to just whip up people's emotions based on what they see on these videos. And so that creates a whole scenario here where when something happens, right away, people jump to conclusions without any sort of analysis, without any sort of investigation. And so that just creates a lot more tension than it used to, I think. So that's one side of the problem. Another side of the problem is negative news sells. Controversy sells more so. If you have a police officer who helped out, let's say a little girl who got stuck in a tree, helped out a little girl off the tree, you're not going to see that on the video, on the news. Why? Because they're doing their job.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So, so a lot of people say, well, that's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be helping people, and so, the reaction is, well, there's no controversy in that, and so, but I'm sure, in general, the police officers all over this country do their job and do it very well, do it very professionally, and but they're not going to be on the news for it because again, people tend to look at it as saying they're doing their job and there's nothing newsworthy about it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, the publishers, those who post their posts, right? They're kind of selectively picking up those juicier events or juicier clips to put it on there to get the publicity. Am I right?
Right.
That could be the case, right? Could be the case.
Oh, I think that is the case.
That is the case, right?
Yeah.
And then, take our time versus old time. So, like say 10 years ago or 20 years ago, though, are we saying that 20 years ago things were the same way, or 20 years ago things were the same way? Only nowadays with the technology, things even the juicier things get more exposed. So can we take a connotation that way, please?
Well, no. I think that even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a news something like that, an incident that happens like what happened to Mr. Gray in Baltimore, eventually will come to light. It just wouldn't happen that fast. And usually it would be the newspaper or the local news would be the ones who would be the one to first report it. But in this instance, I believe Mr. Gray's arrest was captured on somebody was standing by him with a phone to capture the video of his arrest. And then once word got out that he died in the police custody,
yes.
that video was posted. And so I think that in general, even 10 years ago, these type of news wouldn't be out that fast. And don't forget, again, we have these 24-hour news, cable news networks now. CNN, Fox News, NBC, whatever.
They can do
they keep recycling their thing.
Waste of no time.
Right, because that's all they have to go with. So 24-hour cycle, they keep repeating the same thing, loop over and over again. And so it gets to the point where it becomes ingrained in people's head, and people and I again, this is my personal opinion, but I think that the more you talk about it and repeating this whole thing over and over without any additional information, you could drive the people. Some people who's perhaps more on the extreme side become more angry because the more they see it, the more they become angry, and that may incite the mob mentality.
Worsen the situation.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Okay. With analysis, probably we'll start to see a little bit, because as a conclusion, or well, maybe too early to jump on a conclusion though. The first layer of the story is that the social media helps it, right? And the irresponsible publishers helped it, right? And things remain the same way as they do. If they would do more fair way to publish the positive posts, though, you will see 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Right.
Again, I'm not saying that it's all bad the way the way things are done now, but I do think that the prevalence of these again 24-hour news cycles, internet bloggers, proliferation of cell phones, cameras, I think all contribute to this spontaneity of news
I see.
getting out there without any sort of filter, without any sort of analysis, without any sort of investigation. I think if you want to go back, the best case I can remember in my memory would be the Rodney King case.
Rodney King case, yes.
Right, and but don't forget that even that case, that the video didn't come to light until I think more than a week after the incident. The gentleman who took the video handed it to, I believe, KTLA.
Yeah.
I think, but it was not given to them until like more than a week later. And so, but that being probably the classic of that's all proliferating now.
As a matter of fact, as long as I could recall, that's the first one of the policing activities or actions in action were kind of taped exactly instantaneously on the spot, right? So that's the first one. That probably starts the new time, right, of law enforcement history. Right. So, my dear audience, today with me is my good friend Stephen Cho, attorney at law out of Orange County. And he's been a supporter for this show for a long, long time. Even we go back to those old days when I was in front of the camera doing the radio show, those times, right? But anyway, friendship gets consolidated and develops into, as long as our business gets involved, I guess they expanded. So he's still supporting the show. By sharing his concept with us, we're trying to analyze the cases that happens around us. Cases are cases, which later on we will analyze one by one to call it a culture, to call it a trend. Somebody even called it a war. Well, we will need to take a second consideration. So stay with us. We'll be right back, please.